Welcome to Revealed, revealing the unseen of weddings.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Holly.
And we're here to pull back the veil on one of the most extravagant, emotional, and sometimes downright crazy industries out there.
Whether you're a bride or groom-to-be, seasoned wedding pro, or just someone who loves a good story, you're in the right place. Hello, we're here with Casey from Custom Vows by Casey and Networking Guru.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talk with you guys.
We're excited
too.
Awesome.
All right, well, today we're just going to kind of let Casey do her thing and tell us about some stories some experiences that she's had, both good, bad, all in between, the weird, drama, the crazy, that's the word I'm looking for. And you can find out about her towards the end.
She's a staple in the Charleston wedding industry.
Yes,
Thanks,
literal networking genius.
Well, I don't know about genius, I would say, especially, leading up into the next couple days. Genius is definitely stretching the imagination with that. But I do my best, and I very much enjoy, what I get to do now in terms of officiating, and then also in terms of bringing the community together for the actual networking piece of it. So even though, I feel like it gets a little nuts with the networking events and, the weddings and the heat and all that kind of stuff, I kind of have to take a step back sometimes and be like, this is the best job ever. And, I am so lucky to be able to do it. So yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys and hopefully inspire some people to get into the wedding industry.
We're excited. Awesome.
Should we also let everybody know ahead of time that Casey has an event coming up actually this week?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
So
let's
it's on
do that.
Thursday. So I don't know, is it going to drop today?
Probably
podcast?
tomorrow.
Cool. So Thursday, June 19th from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Swain Boating Center. It is on the Citadel campus. So it's open to the networking events in general at this point are open to both wedding vendors looking to network, and then also to couples looking for vendors for their big day. So basically it's a showcase that we put on. We have a wedding planner, a florist, a group of photographers, videographers, content creator, rentals, anything that is involved in a regular wedding. You'll see there people showing off or companies showing off their what they like to showcase. So what we typically do for the events is we select a venue, and then we select a theme, and then everything kind of builds out from there. So the theme for this one is kind of like Parent Trap inspired. So
I love that.
it's like Elizabeth James, late 90s, early 2000s.
That's so fun.
So
Yeah.
it should be really fun. And for me, my day job is wedding officiant. But fun fact about me is I can't do anything aesthetic at all. I have no creativity or anything like that. So like the creatives in the industry, you guys, wedding planners, florists, all that kind of stuff, every time I see something come together, I'm like, this is amazing. And I would have never even been able to think of anything like this, let alone, pull it all together. So it's always so fun for me to be able to see kind of the visions from the mood board, the Pinterest board, and then like the actual day. I'm like, I don't know how you guys all do it.
That's awesome. It takes a village.
Yeah, it very much does. So I think we're up to about 50 participating vendors for this one, which is a long list of really fun things. But we always do, some other fun elements too. We have like a henna tattoo artist for this one. Obviously, you guys will be there doing some live podcasting, which will be really fun.
We will. So
Yes.
if you guys have any good stories to tell, please come.
Yeah. Get your tickets.
So yes. So I'm trying to think. We have like ice pops, and there will be catering and bar and anything and everything that you might want to see. So we're really excited to showcase it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The events are super fun. I was telling Casey before we started the podcast, I was like, I'm super introverted, but like the last event I went to was super fun, and I was like, I can do this by myself.
Yeah, and this is what I'll say about the wedding community here. Everybody, all right, 98% of people are really, really nice and welcoming. So, you know, you could think that it's a very competitive industry. There might be 20 wedding planners at the event, and you might think like, ooh, they're not going to talk to each other, or they're very competitive, or whatever the case might be. But it's really not the case, especially because they very much have to lean on each other. They send back leads, you know, back and forth. They might be like, well, this client contacted me, maybe I'm not available for this day, or maybe, you know, it's not really something that is in my wheelhouse, but I know these 3 people, so maybe I'll recommend that. And I'm sure you guys see that as well, with, you know, your, I don't want to say coworkers, but like, you know, your competition, essentially. Yeah. So I like to think that we really turn competition here into like an actual like lifting everybody up in the community, which is super nice. So as a part of the event specifically, I like to try to incorporate as many new vendors or as many like emerging vendors as possible. So you'll always see someone new. And then I, you know, have the tried and trues as well that I'm just like, all right, I need to be able to lean on specific people as well. So it's really nice to see everybody really collaborate, and, you know, it's a good opportunity for people to kind of come together and be like, all right, we just had a crazy spring season. What did you see this spring? What are the trends? Like, I have all these questions based off of things that maybe I haven't seen in the past 3 years, but it started coming up this spring. Like, have you also seen this type of a thing? You know, whether it be like, maybe a venue changed a policy that impacted planners or photographers a lot, or whatever the case might be. So it's a good chance for everybody to kind of decompress and just enjoy the night. So hopefully it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
I'm
that
very
makes
well.
sense.
They always are.
Yeah.
They always are. You do a really nice job with
Thank
them.
you. I mean, everybody, to be able to show off everybody's talents is really amazing. And, you know, we couldn't do it without everybody that participates, which, you know, you guys have been highlighted in the past events as well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. So what are some crazy things that have happened?
Just jump right in.
Jump right
Give us
in.
the good stuff.
Yeah, so I will say I've been doing this since 2021. So I've seen, you know, and I do everything from small elopements with just the couple all the way to very large weddings. So, you know, there's crazy stuff from the 2 people eloping all the way up to the very large weddings. But in preparation, I was trying to think of some extra fun ones. When people think about their wedding vendors for their day, I don't want to say hiring out a friend as a wedding vendor, photographer, hair and makeup artist, or something like that is not a good idea, but it's not a good idea, especially in Charleston.
It's not. That comes into play really a lot with hair.
Yeah. And, you know, my thought is that if you are getting married and you're inviting, you know, somebody to your wedding, let them be a guest and have a great time. A lot of people have their friends officiate, and I think that's a little bit different if they have like experience and they're good in front of people. I think that's less of like a heavy lift, because it's like, all right, they do the ceremony and then they're done. Like, they can just enjoy for the rest of the time. But like a photographer or a hair makeup artist, like, that's a very long time commitment. And, you know, if you're a bridesmaid or a guest at a wedding and you're asked to do hair and makeup, like, that takes up your entire day and you're probably pooped by the end of it, right? Yeah. Like, you don't really want to enjoy the wedding afterwards. Like, it always amazes. I always appreciate when couples ask me if I would like to stay for a cocktail hour, reception, anything like that. And, you know, it's very nice, but at the same time, I'm like, this is your time to enjoy with your friends and family. Like, I'm a vendor, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, so this particular wedding, it was at a beautiful venue in town, a very popular wedding venue. I would say 98% of our venues in town require a wedding planner, a certified wedding planner. So they had an amazing wedding planner who I work with a ton. She's a sweetheart. She always has a smile on her face. She is a great wedding planner in the sense that she also can run a day effectively. And if anybody, is kind of stepping out of line or whatever the case is, she can be stern, but in a nice, polite, professional way. So
I have a feeling I might know who it is.
This is what we always do. We're like trying to figure out who it is.
It's like a mystery.
And what venue. We'll ask you once we turn the mics off.
For sure, and maybe I can drop some hints where you might know by the end of it. But anyway, so the getting ready was on site for the day, and by the time I show up for a wedding, which is like 30 minutes before a wedding, maybe a little bit longer, if people are annoyed at that point, like it's not good news. You know what I mean? Like something went wrong, and you can kind of just see it on people's faces, and I'm like, I get to be the investigator being like, all right, what happened? Like, how's it going? So when I arrive, I always check in with all the vendors and, obviously with the planner first. And she was perturbed, I will say. And that's not her usual.
Perturbed is a good word.
Yeah, it's not her usual stance. She's always, by the time I get there, everything's like set. She's good to go. And the place looked beautiful, by the time I got there for that particular wedding. But I could tell that she was very much on edge. And I was like, what's going on? Like, how can I help you type of a thing? Like, let's calm you down before, you have to get into this next step. So then I knew the videographer as well. He worked for a larger, sometimes like there's these larger companies where it's not individual, a videographer team where you book that videographer and that's who you get. These larger companies sometimes have like 4 or 5 and you kind of
I use
get
one
who you
like
get.
that for my own wedding.
Yeah. And this particular videographer works for that larger company, but I have worked with him. I want to say even that, it's funny, like things kind of come in groups. I think I had seen him like 3 times in the last like month, just like out of happenstance. So I went and chatted with him and I was like, all right, what's happening? Because also you kind of want to get a read on how the couple is doing before you go into the ceremony or before you check in with them, just to be like, all right, well, I don't want to stress them out more or less, or like whatever the case might be. So come to find out that their photographer is a family friend or a friend or whatever the case was. They had done maybe 3 or 4 weddings. They were out of town. So, they're not familiar with the venue, which is a large, the venue is contained with, where the reception and ceremony and everything like that happens, but the venue is so large and you take photos at all the different areas. So it's a lot of walking. This wedding might have been in September, so it was very hot. The photographer,
I think I know what venue you were at.
Yeah. So the photographer maybe wasn't prepared for that, and then also just doesn't really know, like a videographer and photographer, the best case scenario is they creatively kind of like feed off of each other and work together in a sense where, it's like a seamless team type of a thing. And because this wasn't a professional photographer and kind of had a relationship with the couple, he was thinking that he was like the authority over the situation, as opposed to trying to like work with the videographer who, the couple also hired and is a person, so maybe you should be nice to them, like in general. But that's just me. So I knew that there was, some strife, and the videographer was basically just like, he is just not professional, and I could tell that it wasn't. Anyway. So the beef with the planner was at this venue, and what people maybe don't realize when you look at really beautiful photos at a Charleston wedding is the shots have to go in a very particular angle, because a lot of the time there's a parking area right next to maybe ceremony space or reception or whatever the case is. So a lot of the times you're basically like, if you're at the wedding, you're looking at a parking lot of cars, and the photographers, when they're professionals, they know how to work things in a way where there's not going to be cars in the photos.
Right.
Yeah.
This gentleman did not know how to do that. The planner had a rental truck with like a bunch of the rentals or whatever the case was, bar things like that. That was in the rental truck in the parking lot area was right next to this beautiful area where he was taking photos and where the ceremony would be.
He wanted them to move it.
He wanted her to move it, and she did multiple times, and none of it was to his liking. And by the time I got there, she was like, I'm not moving it again.
What?
Just because you don't know what you're doing. Like, I have things to do. Like, I can't move this truck 47 times and it can't go anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, there's only particular spots at the venue where you're allowed to park these vehicles.
Yeah.
And the couple knows going in, like, this is where the vendor cars go. Like, you can't do anything about that. Like, you booked this venue knowing that this is where the cars go. If you don't book a photographer that knows how to get around those things, like, that's on you.
Which that even does happen here. I've worked weddings where photographers will come in and be like, can you move your setup? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And there's so many stylists that will. No.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I run behind because it takes me 15 minutes to relocate, and then you're breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
That I'm not done in time. Like,
It's like, you said you were going to be here till 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's 12:30.
And it's there's one in particular that I've seen ask 2 different times.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, no. And like I said, I know plenty of stylists they've just done it, and I'm looking at them like, no, girl, no.
Yeah.
I've been doing this too long. You can
Yeah.
say no.
Exactly.
You can absolutely tell that photographer no.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think like a lot of vendors, like if they're new or if they're just breaking out, they are a little uncomfortable like speaking up for themselves. Like, for example, we do these events, and I send out a vendor list and with the names of the companies and everything. And one of our wonderful vendors was like, hey, like the name is incorrect. Like, can you change it to this? And she's like, I don't want to be a pain in the neck. And I was like, no, like, this is your name of your company because I did something wrong. Like, please correct me. That's why I sent it out before the event. So, whether it's with other vendors or whatever the case is, always, make sure you represent yourself in a way that, is conducive to conducting your business appropriately.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she moves the truck multiple times, and then at that point she's like, no truck is being moved. So we're getting ready for the ceremony, and the videographer is miking me up, and he is putting his, camera on a tripod, and he asked the photographer, like, listen, these are the areas where I can put the tripod. What would be best for you in terms of this space? And he probably got like a hand or whatever the case was, and he said, all right, this is where I'm putting it. You cannot walk in front of the video camera during the ceremony. Like, this is just,
Yeah.
you can't do it. That's just, So I walk down the aisle, the bridal party, we're set up, and I start the ceremony, and I see the photographer just, slowly just start edging his way towards the camera, and the videographer is watching him and going like this, and he's not paying attention, and then he just walks right in front of it, and the videographer just like throws up his hands and is like, come on, man, I told you there was one thing that you had to do during this.
That's crazy. And honestly, it's not even like they're hour-long ceremonies. Like, most of our ceremonies here in Charleston,
10-15
unless you're
minutes.
getting married in a church,
Yeah,
they're like
short.
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes. Like, how hard is it for 10
Yeah.
or 15 minutes not to walk in front of a camera?
And as a photographer, if you've been doing photography for a while, angle, like you were
Yes.
saying earlier, angles and like making sure that you're not in the shot.
Yes.
Like, that.
Yeah. And, now this couple has a video of their beautiful ceremony with the photographer walking in front of it multiple times. And I do believe that he was right in front of it during their first kiss as well. So that was really nice as well. So, long story short, if you don't care about certain things, like certain people don't want to invest in certain elements. So sometimes florals aren't important to some people, and they might DIY or they might do, fake flowers or whatever the case is. And there's ways to do that and it look good. But just as long as you kind of know what you're getting up front, and then also other end for like planners and other vendors, a lot of people on the vendor side will start to, like, if they have an experience like that, they'll start to alter their contracts. And for a wedding planner, they might have a stipulation in their contract that says every vendor that you hire must be a professional vendor. They must be licensed. They must have insurance, like all that kind of stuff. So, and sometimes planners, I'm sure, don't, like, you know, kind of bend the rules. The same thing, like what we were saying before about moving their stuff or whatever. Like the planner might be like a month before the ceremony, and the couple's like, hey, we're hiring, you know, Joe Schmo to be our photographer because we still don't have somebody, and like, what are you going to do at that point?
Yeah, that's true.
So
it happens with hair, and I think with hair it's difficult to. I understand wanting your family friend who does full service hair, who's always done your highlights. You want them to like be doing your hair on your big day. I get that. We do this all day long.
yeah,
Thursdays through Sundays and peak seasons. Trials during the week. I mean, it's most of us, it's what we do.
yes,
And we might have like a side hustle of, okay, we still do some highlights and cuts, but weddings is our career. And it shows when you hire us for all of your bridesmaids,
yeah,
and then your family friend does your hair. It's happened to me where the family friend leaves and the bride's like, oh my gosh, can you do this? Can you do that? And I always will, because it's a bride. But that's also not fair to me either, because I'm not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
yes,
And I can't help that you chose that. The other thing is the humidity in Charleston.
yes.
If you have somebody come and do your hair that's from Seattle, like California, where you're from, they are not used to this weather. They are not going to have tools in their kit that we have in our kit. And I can tell you that even if they do a great job, it's not going to last because they're not used to this weather.
Yeah. Yup.
So it is, I get it. I get the family, like, friends thing. I stopped doing weddings for my family and friends, like their whole party.
Yeah.
I just do theirs.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that because it's like an hour. I can go in, do it, then I can get myself ready. But my own cousin, God love her, she told
Call
me.
her out.
I love her to death. But she told me that her friend, she has, you know, whose hair I would do. And I was like, well, I can probably do you and like a couple other people. And she was like, well, my one friend does hair. My aunt was ready to kill her. My aunt pulled me aside at the end of the day and was like, I am so sorry. The friend that does hair, I was like, okay, so do you want to like do these four? And I can do. She was like, oh, I just know how to curl hair.
Great.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God. I got to the wedding. I was so frazzled. I didn't have, my makeup was horrible. Why is it the hair and makeup artists always are the ones that look disheveled when we show up somewhere? Because we spend the whole time, every holiday at my family's house, I was like, can you do my hair? Can you do this? And so then everybody looks beautiful, and then here comes me.
Last minute.
And I'm like, okay, I tried. I don't know. But I ended up doing like every bridesmaid of my cousin's wedding. And my cousin, we did get a really cute shot at the end of the day of my cousin putting my lashes on for me.
Oh, that's
in her
nice.
wedding dress while I was in my bridesmaid dress. And I love her dearly.
Yeah.
But I was ready to wring her neck that day.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't know if like maybe the friend told her
Something different.
Yeah, I don't know but my aunt ended up giving me money, and I was like, you don't need to do this. She was like, no. She was like, I can't believe my daughter did that to you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was stressful.
Yeah.
But everything got done.
And not just stressful for you, but I'm sure it was stressful for your cousin as well.
Yes.
Which, like, the point of the whole day is to.
Well, I don't know. I think she was
fine.
drinking.
But that's
She's like, ah,
that's maybe her personality in general. You know, like some brides, when things go off a little bit, they get stressed.
Yes.
So, and they feel everything. So, you know, if you hire professionals, things could always still go wrong, but there's less likely that it will go wrong.
Correct.
Especially, you know, there's a lot of great planners all over this great country, but we're a very tight-knit community in Charleston for a reason. Like, the planners here, they know the venues, they know the intricacies, they know how timelines work here, and, you know, if you're going to bring somebody from not Charleston, it's not going to go as well as if you use somebody from Charleston who has experience at the venue or whatever the case is.
Even those
100%.
people that own the venue,
Yes.
that like have that relationship that you can say, oh my gosh, this isn't, do you have, I don't know, an extension cord here? Do you have like people that are in with these people can do more for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's in different geographical areas. Like, I'm from New Jersey, so
Me too.
Oh, that's so funny. What part of New Jersey?
Like Cherry Hill area?
Okay, I'm from the North Jersey area, but I went to school at Ryder, so I'm familiar
Oh, nice.
with
Okay.
Cherry Hill. Yeah, so the venues up in the Northeast, the coordination team basically is the venue team. You know, so when you book a venue, it's usually the catering, the bar, and everybody that conducts the actual coordination for the day is through the venue. That's not the case in Charleston. Your wedding coordinator is a separate person not associated with the venue that you hire to, you know, do full planning or month of coordination or whatever the case is. So, you know, it's a bit of just a difference in how things are done in different areas, which is fine. And, you know, the community here does a good job of kind of educating the brides and couples who are getting married here to just be like, hey, you are required to have a month of coordinator because that's the person who will be running your day. Like, no, the venue people open the door and then they close the door. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, it is very different in New Jersey or like just Northeast and really anywhere but Charleston in general. I find that because Charleston's obviously like more southern weddings and you have people from all over like come here, but it's to experience the specialty of Charleston and what it has to offer. But in the Northeast, it's very like I don't really know the words for it, but it, like you said, it's just different. Like it's like a banquet.
Yes, the
More
structure
banquet-ish.
of the day for the wedding, like as a guest too, is very different. Like, you know, here we do ceremony, we do about an hour of cocktail hour, and then it goes into dinner. Up in the Northeast, cocktail hour is basically like a full dinner during cocktail hour. So the cocktail hour happens, and then you don't get dinner until later. You know, you gotta go right into dinner and dancing and stuff like that right after. And here, dinner is like as soon as the reception starts. So it's just like a little different in terms of structure, and that's why like local planners are really important because they understand kind of how everything works.
Yeah, definitely. Rambo's like, I just want to be on the podcast so bad.
I don't know.
Which I'll call out. So a lot of people do have their pets at. I have some good stories about pets.
Oh yeah.
So I did a wedding probably about 2 years ago. It was at one of the most premier wedding venues downtown. A gorgeous spot. It was kind of like a smallish wedding, maybe like 50 people or something like that. And where the venue or where the ceremony space takes place, it's kind of like a turf grass area, so it always just like looks pretty. It's a high-end turf grass, but still turf. So they had their dog walk down the aisle before the bride, and the dog proceeded to pee down the entire aisle. And it's turf.
No.
It's not grass. And then everybody thought it was very cute and adorable. And then the bride proceeded to walk down right afterwards.
No.
And I was like, her dress is going to be real yellow. And nobody said anything to her. And I was like, all right, ceremony's done, sign a license. I don't want to be here when you realize that your dress is yellow. But
oh my god.
that was a fun one. The couple was super sweet. But a lot of the times people have their pets in the ceremony, which is great, and during the day, but there's companies in Charleston that will take care of the dogs before the ceremony, you know, when you're taking photos, all that kind of good stuff during the ceremony, and then take them afterwards, so they don't have to stay on site for the whole day, and you don't have to worry about a friend or a family member kind of, you know, taking care of them. And especially in these hotter months, it's super important because they'll make sure that the dog, you know, has water and is in air conditioning every, you know, 20 minutes or whatever the case is, so they don't overheat. So that's definitely something that I would recommend if you want your pep to be involved
Yeah.
in the wedding.
Such a smart idea. That goes back to when we were talking about kids on another podcast. Like, great to have, like, if you want your kids there, amazing, but have somebody designated
Yes.
to help you out with that, so you're not solely focused on that all day.
Kids are so funny at a wedding too. So a lot of people want their kids to be, or you know, any kids that they're close to be flower girls or ring bearers and stuff like that. And even the most outgoing kids, it's really overwhelming for them to have to walk down an aisle with maybe 200 people staring at them.
Oh god, I can't even imagine.
So yeah, it's jarring. So what I always recommend to people is have them walk in groups. So it's not just one 2-year-old walking down the aisle, like give them a friend or whatever the case is, so that like helps them with their, you know, anxiety on
That's
the day
smart.
as well.
Yeah,
So
that's really smart.
That is smart.
and it's a better chance of them making their way down the aisle and not like having
It's like this
like
way.
a parent to kind of have to go grab them.
I actually, this past weekend, my wedding, the best man was the father of the flower girl, and he had Skittles
Oh,
that he was
that's
gonna
smart.
tempt her with, and he told her before the wedding even started. He was like, "Daddy has Skittles waiting for you
Smart.
at the front."
Bribes.
So
Like
then
that.
she was like, "Okay, cool."
That's cute. That's awesome.
I don't care about
Right.
throwing these flowers.
I was like, you should do that for all
Skittles.
the bridesmaids, like that are going before her.
Yeah.
Hand them Skittles.
Yeah.
When they get to
Yeah. One for you, one for you.
Yeah.
You get a Skittle. You get a Skittle.
That's a
That's
good
usually
idea.
for the groomsmen. I feel like the bridesmaids know exactly what to do, where to stand, all that kind of good stuff. It's the groomsmen that are like, what do I do here?
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Is there anything like good that you've had happen that you're like that sticks in your memory?
So it's
Or like funny or
Sure, yeah. So I would say that the good ones are don't stick in your brain just because, you know, they're not dramatic. So it's
That's
just like
true.
a nice, beautiful couple that is very much in love and you're very happy for them, and those are the best ones. But I would say recently I've had some really nice ones. Like if somebody's doing their own vows, it's always really nice to kind of hear from their perspective, their story and things like that. So that's always nice. I had a vow renewal recently where it was their, I want to say like 25th anniversary, and they just rented a house out on Kiowa, and it was just me that they had to come out and their 2 adult children, and their kids wrote their vows for them, and they read them to each other, and they didn't see them until during the ceremony, and it was like very difficult for them to get through. It was really nice. Their kids did a really nice job. You know, it's funny too. It's always the men that end up crying or sobbing.
Yes.
And it's funny because the women sit in hair and makeup all day, so like they can't have a tear roll down their cheek. It's gonna ruin the makeup. But the men don't think that they're going to be not
A
upset,
mess.
but a mess.
Yeah.
Emotional. Very first wedding that I did, it was during the rehearsal, the father of the bride was just very outgoing, very jovial, and he was like, all right, like at what part do I like give her away and like say no take backs? And he was like you could tell that they were a very close family, which was really nice. And I was like, oh, this guy's gonna crush it. Like he's gonna walk down the aisle, he's gonna give hugs, he's gonna, you know, be totally have it together. The day of the wedding, they got to the very edge right before they were gonna start walking, and this guy was like crying to the point where he could not get himself together.
Aww.
He was sobbing.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, big tough guy. Now he's, you know, ugly crying down the entire aisle.
Oh, I love that.
And it's always funny, like, for me when things happen. So if it's, like, somebody, like, the groom usually crying, like, I've had recently a lot of grooms just kind of, like, sobbing. And I'm like, do I pause? Do I let him, like, pull it together? Like, what do I do? So, you know, if they're doing their own vows and they start crying during that, I always, you know, tell them before and then during as well. I'm like, take your time, like, this is your moment, so don't feel like you have to rush through it or whatever the case. But sometimes when it's just me talking during the ceremony, doing a reading or whatever the case is, and they're emotional, I'm like, all right, do I pause? Do I give him a second, or do I just like keep going, because it doesn't seem like he's gonna stop. So this just might be, he might just cry through the entire ceremony. So I had one groom cry through an entire ceremony.
Oh my
recently,
God.
And I was just like, all right, you may now kiss the bride.
Just like a whole bunch of wetness.
Yeah, it was an interesting
Sometimes
one.
I wonder too if it's because they're all, well, not all, I know not all, but a lot of them are drinking like the whole morning before, and I'm like, is that why they're more emotional?
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, well,
I think
know
it
as a
just hits
female,
them.
I get way more emotional after I drink. So like,
but think about it too, like as the woman, typically you're the one planning everything, you're the one in the details, your maybe stress level is a little bit higher, making sure everything is the way that you wanted. You invested a lot of money. This is like your friends and family are all there. You want everybody to have a good time, so you might be just like a little clenched a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And you typically know exactly what's happening at each, part of the day. The groom kind of just shows up typically and is just like kind of escorted throughout the day, which is fine and great. But he might have not prepared as much his own emotions, which is fine. Like, it's your wedding day. Like, if there's a day to be emotional, like, it's probably the day of your wedding. So, it's just funny to see.
Yeah,
who the
you have
criers
like the
are.
front row too.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
And it's never the ones that I think, like if I'm talking to them before, I'm like, how are you feeling? Whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm fine, no worries. And then all of a sudden they just hold it together.
Yeah. I didn't think my husband would cry. I thought I would cry for sure.
Yeah.
And we like technically eloped.
Yeah.
And I like started like walking down like to him, and he starts crying. I started laughing.
Yeah.
I was like, because I thought it was like so cute. I was like, oh, like this is my man.
Yeah. That's so nice.
you don't have to answer this one if you don't want to, but
Sure.
do you have a preference over elopements or full-out weddings?
Well, I like them both, and I like to do both of them because it gives like a variety of different, different, experiences for me as well. So I love the elopements because they're usually low key. It's just the couple, whether it's just them or a couple people, they're really focused on each other and just like the moment and stuff like that, and that's super nice. And then the big weddings, I love that too because a lot of the times I'll get a chance to talk with the friends and family members beforehand and kind of learn a little bit more about the couple and kind of incorporate those stories into the actual ceremony. And it's fun to be able to work with a lot of different vendors for those as well and see the day come together into the beautiful production that it ends up being. So I really do enjoy both of them. But I will say my absolute favorite is like an intimate micro wedding. So maybe like 25, 30 people, something like that, where they, it's very much about the couple and they're, spending the time with the friends and family, and then they, might do some elaborate things as well for florals and stuff like that, and that's always fun to see as well. So, kind of all of them, I love them all.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be cool to like experience all the different types and just like see what everybody does and like the uniqueness of each one. Like I'm sure there's like some different things too that are pretty cool. Because like doing hair and makeup, we only see like the beginning.
Yeah, we don't get to see all the good stuff.
Yeah.
There's actually several venues that I work weddings for all the time. I've never seen
Because they don't have a bridal suite.
Well, or it's just such a big wedding party. Like, I've done so many brides that have gotten married at the
Literally
and
nowhere in there. They're like staging areas in like a closet.
So they redid it.
Recently?
I guess I've had a wedding there 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was a Friday, and I was really like nervous going into it because I'm like, I've never worked here. Like, what kind of bridal space do they have? Like, is it going to be big enough? Like,
what was the lighting in there? Because previously it was a closet. So
the lighting was good. They moved
really?
their office, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was a really big space. I mean, they had a huge conference table in there.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
A little circular table in the corner that I was working at. Like, it's a big space.
Yeah.
We were comfortable, and it was me, the makeup artist, and then probably 6 bridesmaids, the bride and the mom.
Yeah.
And it was very comfortable. It was all very comfortable.
That's
awesome.
great.
But I had never been there, and all the time that I've been doing hair in Charleston, there's so many venues that I've either never worked at. I feel like there's venues that I've never had brides be at, like in
Yeah.
all the years that I've been doing this.
Yeah.
There's just so many of them.
I find
Yeah.
things come in clumps, you know, and I'll get like a ton of requests for a specific venue, and I think like maybe that venue has been pushing their marketing, and maybe I'm on their vendor list or something like
Right.
that. So maybe that's like a part of it. But I find that venues that have accommodations for vendors, like for example the Waverly, which was our last event was at, they have a beautiful vendor space, they have a beautiful bridal suite, groom suite, and like vendors love that, so they'll recommend to their brides. It's a beautiful space in general as well, but like they'll be like, you know, there's a bridal suite on site, you
Right.
can get ready here, you don't have to book anything else. It's large, it's good for photos, like all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a benefit for the venues as well. But this also goes back to like hiring a local planner. A lot of these venues, like venue is beautiful. There's a couple different spaces for reception and cocktail hour and ceremony and stuff like that. But it's really dependent on time of year and the sunset. So like how the sun sets at that particular venue. If your wedding is in May and the ceremony's at 4:30, your guests will be roasting out
Right.
there. There's like no
True.
way that you can have your ceremony in that back deck area. So a lot of the times they'll have to move it either inside or to the front area, which is literally the parking lot,
Right.
which it goes back to what I mentioned before. It's, you know, the venues try to sell their space, and that's great. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But it's always good to have a planner or something like that be like, hey, just so you know, this is actually how it's going to go. Like they show all these beautiful photos, and that could very much be your case, but maybe because it's a different month or whatever the case is, this is probably not how it's going to look. So my recommendation for people is always go with a planner before you book anything else.
That's so true. Yes. Yeah. 100%.
For things like that, yeah. And then also for things like budget. Like if you blow your budget on the venue and it doesn't even include chairs, what are you gonna do? Like
Yeah.
I think a big thing is too, like with that, like choosing the vendor. If you're coming from out of town, we want you here. We love you. It's like we want you to come. You need to experience Charleston at the time that you are actually
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
married. If you're planning a wedding here in June or July even, as vendors we're gonna look at you like you're insane, kind of, because unless it's an indoor venue, it's
And
going
those are
to be
few and far between.
few and far between. And also then you still want your outside pictures.
Yeah.
Which, as a hair and makeup artist sitting here, well, I'm not a makeup artist, Holly is, but it's becoming very difficult for us in our industry when brides are wanting 3 hours of photos beforehand
yeah.
outside in June in 90-degree
Yeah.
weather. Like, it just, if that's what you want, then you need to like have in your head that you're going to do most of those photos inside,
Yeah.
or your hair is not going to make it. And even the best of the best, like I've worked with the best of the best women that are charging a good bit of money,
Yeah.
like luxury stylists. It's still, if you were outside for 4 hours in this main heat at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
it's not.
And it depends on the bride too. Like everybody's hair texture is so
Right.
different. Like
Yeah.
I can't hold a curl in my hair. I know
Right.
that about my hair. So my expectation going in would be like, if it's a crisp 20 degrees with no humidity, then I would expect that maybe a curl might be able to hold for
Right.
a couple hours. But on
Yeah.
a day like today,
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, and come at the time that you
Yes.
are getting married. Don't come here in November to look for a wedding venue book said wedding venue
Yeah.
in June,
'Cause it's
then
always
come
beautiful.
back in February for your tastings and your tryouts, because in June you are going to have the shock of your life when you experience this weather and this
Yeah.
humidity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because June here is unlike June up north. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
not comparable.
June is like a prime month in the Northeast to get married.
Yeah.
It's like the prime month, and here, and I've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen this trend as well, since COVID, a lot of people were doing the July weddings, the August weddings, just because the dates weren't available during the spring or the fall, because everybody was getting pushed out or more people were coming here to get married. So
It's also,
And
let's
it's
be
less
real, it's cheaper.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's the
cheaper.
thing.
And so I think
You get what
people
you
are
pay for,
seeing
though.
that,
That is
but
true.
not really knowing. And I've said it before, and I know lots of people will disagree with me. We have a different type of humidity here.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
not
tropical
comparing it
almost.
to Miami. Obviously, Miami is way hotter, but I have said before that parts of Florida, I think it's worse here than it is in parts of Florida. And I've had bachelorette groups tell me that when I was working at Tees a long time ago. And actually, just this past weekend, one of my bridesmaids, she was saying she was from Florida. She was like, I don't know what it is. She said, now I'm from like the Tampa, like Bradenton Beach area. She was like, this humidity is worse than where we are.
Yeah.
And I
It has
said,
a
well,
lot
where
to do
you
with
are in
plants.
Florida, you're getting like that cross breeze, I feel like, from the Gulf Coast to the
True.
East Coast. We don't really have that. And this humidity in Charleston, it's intense.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you are in a venue that's right on the water, maybe you'll get a little bit of a breeze, but it's not guaranteed. If you're inland, which a lot of the venues are, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no breeze.
100%. Yeah, so
And the other big thing with the venues here, if you're going to get married when it's literally swamp season, is the prehistoric size bugs.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, palmetto
yeah.
bugs.
Crawling up your dress, they will be
Yes.
stuck in your netting. You will not be okay.
People are like, I'm not getting married in
I
Charleston.
tell
Oh, we love it.
Yeah.
Everybody come here to get married, but
I tell
maybe
my
not
friends and
in July.
family,
Yeah, not
like
in
my
July.
friends and family are always like, "Oh, I can come in July." I'm like, "You do not want to come here."
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not doing anything if there's not a pool
Yeah.
or a body
Water
of water that I
activity.
can get into.
And shade.
Yeah, then
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere outside.
Yeah.
Like, it's not happening. I
Yeah.
will be in my AC. This humidity, you can go out here sometimes, and even if it is a breeze, it is a wet breeze. Like,
Yeah.
you
Like,
just get
smacks you
slapped
in
in
the
the
face.
face.
It's like,
Yes.
that did not help me at all.
Exactly.
And this goes back to the planners. Again, planners that know this town, have the contacts. Weather changes here on a dime. So it could be a beautiful blue sky, and then 2 seconds later, it could be a downpour. So
You have your
This
tent
past
on call.
Saturday.
yes, it was
Did
crazy.
you have wedding this past
Oh
Saturday?
yeah.
Yeah.
If I did, I was in that rain. It
So
started
was I.
raining as soon as the ceremony started. The couple didn't care. But
Some of the best photos, I feel like, are in the rain.
yes, but your guests are wet then.
Yes.
And then you have to spend the rest of the night wet. And I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for the younger guests it's fine, but like for grandma, like does she really want to be sitting in wet clothes like
Right.
the rest of the
Well,
night?
me at 38, I don't want to be sitting
No,
there.
wet clothes are love.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Unless I'm prepared for it, and then I'm okay with it. But if I'm not prepared for it and I'm wet and included, like, no.
Yeah.
No.
So, I'm a wedding officiant by day. And then I also do these networking events as well. So
By night.
Just
No,
so the
I'm
listeners
kidding.
know, are you willing to travel? Like, do you like
No.
traveling?
Um,
No.
for a select few close friends and family, sure, I will travel, but I try to keep my geographical area very close to Charleston, even just because, the wedding industry here there's enough to do here where I don't need to go to, I don't really even know anywhere else in South Carolina, to be honest, aside from like Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach. But it depends. If it's like a Tuesday and, it fits in my schedule, that's fine. But like on a prime Saturday, the answer is likely no. But yeah, so the networking events, basically they kind of started just organically, and I know I was talking a little bit about them before, but now basically we have, there's a ton of wedding vendors in Charleston. Just to give you an idea, I have, an email list that I send out all the invitations to. It's over 1,000 people. So when we put together these events, it's usually about 50 participating vendors that end up contributing, and it's, I don't want to say one per category because sometimes we'll have multiple rental companies and whatever the case is, but it's 1 to 2 per category, and we very much try to highlight new people. But I can't use everybody for every event, and so I very much appreciate people reaching out all the time, and keep reaching out if you would like to participate, and hopefully we can get you incorporated if it makes sense with the theme and all that kind of stuff. But come as a guest. Like, they're really fun events. We always have different themes, and it's fun to just be able to chat with people and stuff like that. So come as a guest. If you're a bride or a groom and you're looking for vendors, come as well to kind of see how everything comes together and chat with people as well, because you might be at the event and you might meet a photographer who you vibe with or whatever the case is, or you might just have a couple of questions about, like, hey, I'm planning my wedding, we're in the early stages, do you recommend X, Y, and Z, like, can you give me a little bit of direction? It's a little bit of free advice from people that know the industry very well. So
there's also always like cool stuff, like just come in general for like the cool things. Like the one event that I was at, that I did the hair for that morning, there was a tattoo artist.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had a live tattoo artist at the, like, a real tattoos.
That's awesome.
At the View, the event at the View.
That's the one that I was at.
Yeah, so that was fun. We had a tattoo artist at this one coming up.
I was looking at her stuff. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
You got a really cool match case.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, she won't be at this one, but we have like a matchbox from her that we'll highlight during the styled shoot. We had a shaved ice person last time.
Is that the Dolce
They were
the Dolce Vita at
delicious.
previous ones.
Yeah,
Yes.
I haven't had them
Glaze
glazed.
is the shaved
Oh,
ice.
okay.
That was the best shaved ice I've ever had.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, just come get all the treats, guys.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, that's words.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then we also try to include sponsorship partners as well. So these are like local businesses that either have the same clientele as us as wedding vendors, or wedding vendors are their clientele. So for this one upcoming, we have an accounting firm. So all of the wedding vendors that freak out in the beginning of April or mid-April, start planning now.
I'm gonna
I'm
be
not
going to
taking
switch
any
that
questions.
table.
Okay, I was an accountant in a previous life, so people will message me and be like, no, I wasn't a tax accountant. So an accountant at this one. We have a chiropractor, which after a busy season, everybody can use a little refresh for that. We have a cleaning company as well, which again, after a spring season, I'm sure everybody needs a little bit of a refresh in their
Even
home.
during,
Yeah, that's so
I can
true.
tell you, like, from a hairstylist point of view, I don't talk about this, but from like March to June, and from like September to the end of November,
Yeah.
I do have a cleaning person come to my private house.
Yeah, of course.
Just because my life is chaotic. Like, it is not just starting the wedding day. You know,
Yeah.
there's all the trials, and then I am still doing hair, like highlights, colors, cuts. And so like those months, it becomes too much. My husband travels too much, and
Yeah.
I need the help at my house. So cleaning crew, I mean, that's like
Yeah,
a really
that's
good
awesome.
thing, even just for personal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Use for the vendors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the sponsorship partners, basically, they have a table at the event, so, you know, vendors can chat with them, or the guests can chat with them, and you know, see about their services, and then they also get the email list of the guests that attended as well. So it's like a good email like blast that they can send out as well. So any companies we've had, like nursing companies in the past, marketing companies, insurance, babysitting, dog caregivers, anything like that. So if anybody listening is interested in something like that as well, feel free to reach out. Yeah, and if anybody's a vendor, new or old, in the community and wants to get involved, reach out. If you're just want to be on the list to get the invitations as a guest, we're happy to see everybody there. So this should be a good one.
Yes, excited.
I apologize in advance for the dogs doing their bones. I know that all of our listeners can hear that. It's been a struggle. I took them to his office the last time, but he's out of town, so Casey has been dealing with this too, and I apologize that you came on our show today and it's been like this.
No, it's totally fine.
But it's keeping Rainbow from barking right now, and
It's like bones are barking.
So,
Bones are barking.
so for our sanity on this end, we chose bones.
So where can everybody find you?
Sure. So the Instagram, custom _ vows _ Casey, because when I created the Instagram account, I didn't think about having to say that, which was pretty dumb. My website, same thing, custom vows by Casey. Shoot me a DM or an email, same thing, customvowsbycasey@gmail.com. I'm pretty quick to respond, so if anybody needs anything for officiating, or even if you're planning a wedding and you don't necessarily need officiating services yet, but you just want to be like, hey, who are your top 3 wedding planners in town, I am happy to let you know who my favorites are.
Awesome. Yes, great.
It's been really good having you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me for the past couple days about how excited we are.
Cool.
That you came on. And we're excited for the event. I'm just like Holly, I'm an introvert. I tend to not want to do things like this. But I was actually really sad that I did not come back for the event the last time.
Yeah,
I was also done. I had done the hair for the shoot, so I was done. But
I'll also say too, if you have like a job during an event like that, it's easier. You know what I mean? If people are approaching you because you have a car there or whatever the case is, if you have a podcast, it gives somebody who can't shut up in general, like me, and you just kind of prompt them with some questions. It kind of gives you a built-in job to kind of have people approach you and chat. So I find that everybody is like super nice, and hopefully you guys get some good content for the podcast on Thursday as well. I know a couple of people already are interested, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say as well, because when you think about a wedding, you think planners, photographers, florists, like all this kind of stuff, but getting all these different categories involved and things that you wouldn't really think about is always fun too. So
yeah, super awesome.
I'm excited to hear about it.
it's nice hearing from other
exactly.
sides.
Cross contamination as
Yeah.
well. And it's nice to like give yourself a level set for things, to be like, all right, I'm a little bit slower this month. Is everybody else slower this month? Is it just me? Like whatever the case is. So it's nice to be able to just share.
Yeah, yeah. Have comfort in the boat.
Yeah.
In the same boat.
When it's over, we all go down together.
Yes.
We're not the only ones frustrated with certain things.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones like feeling ways during certain times of the season.
And hopefully we can come up with solutions, right? So if like there's an issue and it's like pervasive with everybody, maybe there's, something that we can all do together to fix it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, like the photo shoots and all the vendor events definitely help with that.
Yeah. Bloom Haven Foundation is a floral design program that uses local, not kids, like 18 to 25, I think is what they focus on, and kind of teaches them the craft in town. And basically at the end of a wedding, a lot of times the florals are just kind of trashed because either couples can't take all of the florals home, or they're out of state, so they can take none of them. And they're perfectly good florals that can be reused for things. So this company, Bloom Haven Foundation, will be at the event. They'll have a table, but they basically take the florals from the event and they repurpose them to teach young adults a craft of doing, florals for events and stuff like that. So we're excited to feature them. And then also Mara from Sweet Leaf Floral, she does the same thing as well. So she'll take florals from the end of her event and she'll put on classes for senior citizens and kind of just like brighten their day.
That's such a good idea.
Anything in terms of, I think florals is usually like what's kind of left over at the end of the day that can be repurposed, like linens or lentils or whatever. But in terms of florals, any brides that are looking to donate, at the end of their day, Gloomhaven will pick up. They'll do everything. You kind of just have to schedule them to come, and they'll do all the breakdown, whatever the case is, and take the florals. So for brides or couples, that's great. And then for vendors, if you would like to tell your couples about it, it would be great as well. So they'll be there at the event, kind of telling people.
And also link that.
Yeah, that would be great.
This episode too.
Yeah. Cool. So that's it.
That's awesome. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it is a really good idea.
I would have loved that, as a youth, getting to learn floral,
and
florists.
I have to check with her specifically, but I think it's a lot of people that come out of the foster center.
I mean, I'm pretty interested in it, especially because Holly and I both have
Cars. Yeah.
cars.
So our next event coming up is August 25th. It's a Monday. So if anybody would like to participate in that, and we're in very early stages in the sense that I don't even know what I'm planning associated with it yet. But my idea would be to get a lot of these vintage cars and kind of incorporate them in some ways and kind of have them maybe all lined up and do maybe a fun photo shoot with the cars. So that's
So
kind
cool.
of the idea.
That is really cool.
Love it.
Well, Casey, this has been wonderful. I again apologize to Casey and everybody listening for the dogs and the barking and chewing on bones and
Listen, we
the
made it
bones
work.
being dropped on the floor. I need my husband to come home so we can take them away.
Yeah,
But
no, I'm so
it's been
excited
fun.
to be able to listen to all the episodes and listen to everybody's contributions on Thursday. And yeah,
It's
thank you
really-
guys for doing this. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
well, I'm glad that you came on. To me, I'm serious. I'm not just saying it because you're sitting here.
Yeah.
You, Casey, really are a staple. I feel
Yeah.
in this industry because you really brought so many people together.
Literally
So you
everybody I
coming
talk to
on
knows you.
here- Yeah, you coming on here, I was so excited because I felt like doing this where vendors gonna be scared to come on. Were they gonna feel like, is this gonna affect that? You just being here.
Well, I'll say to anybody that would like to come, and you could include this or not, and just anybody that's looking to do it, it's a conversation. You know what I mean? So if somebody, you guys are saying you're introverts, you've been talking this entire time. And
Yeah.
You're
right. Got us there.
It's not like a bunch of people are watching or anything like that. So we're kind of just sitting in your living room, just chatting like we would, and people are apparently listening to us.
I said to Casey, for future people that might want to do this, anything, even if you say something, you have a little bit of time to get in your car and then call and be like, I shouldn't have said that, can you edit this out?
Yeah.
This is why we'll never do this. I don't ever plan on doing this
live. No,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
because there's too much where you're talking and a name slips or a venue slips or that kind of stuff. It's a little too much. We have to be able to go in and edit it. But anything that gets said, if it was something that somebody felt uncomfortable with, it can always be edited out before it's posted.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also think it's a good way to, like I said, you can say things that drive you nuts or things you've seen almost as a learning for the brides to be oh, okay, I hadn't thought of that. That's very good. I'll try not to do that day. Or
Totally, for the brides and then the vendors as well. So maybe, I didn't think about the schedule for hair and makeup artists as a photographer. Maybe I didn't think that going in and interrupting them would really set off their schedule, and now I have it in the back of my mind to be cognizant about it.
And it does happen even if the brides aren't staying with them. So as soon as they get out of that chair to go get the detail stuff, and then somebody else stops them in the hallway.
Yes,
and then now they're out of my chair, I've lost them, and I don't know when they're going to be.
Exactly. And you're just standing there because you don't want to take somebody else because then you're doing the bride. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's informative. We're trying to be informative too.
Yeah.
Well, entertaining. Informative and entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Casey, we'll see you in just a couple
Yes.
of days.
We will see. We'll see everybody in just a couple days.
Yes.
Please.
All the
It'll be a fun
peoples.
time. So yeah, just have a good time. We're
Yes.
excited.
If you're coming, make sure you get your tickets.
Yes. Our link in my stories has been live for a while on my highlight, so or just DM me if you would like your tickets.
Yes. And we will be linking all of Casey's info on how to get in touch with her. I highly recommend her. She's cute, bubbly, sweet little thing, and very, very on top of everything.
Yeah.
As
And
it
to be able to do
together.
these events,
Yes, I
she
can
really,
even.
like, everything is always, and she's there, man. Like, when I'm starting with these events, doing hair for them sometimes, she's there at 8 a.m. when we start, and she closes it down. So I highly recommend
Thank
her.
you. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
professional.
Thank you. I like to crack the whip as much as possible. So, no, I appreciate it. But thank you guys.
All
Thanks for
right.
chatting.
Well, guys, we will be getting this out to you soon, and hopefully another one soon after that.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok. I think that's about it.
And
for
we're
the
now,
most
like,
part.
available everywhere, I think. Like Spotify, Podbean,
on things I don't even
Apple.
know what they are.
Yeah. So,
All the
happy
things.
listening.
Yes. All right. Well, peace out.
Stay blessed.
This has been a Trolley production.